Hey, good people, did you know that 2 years ago there were 19 registered political parties in West Australia and now there are only 7? I did some investigating into the Electoral Equality Amendment, that's a nice name, and found that back in November 2022, 12 of the 19 registered parties within West Australia suddenly became unregistered. And if you live somewhere else in the country, don't think that this is irrelevant to you because WA seems to be a bit of a test case for the rest of the country right now. In 2021, Labor won by a landslide and came away with 53 out of 59 seats, leaving the remaining 6 to go to Liberals and Nationals. With a monopoly on state power, the Labor Party didn't waste any time crafting new laws and even constitutional amendments. There are 2 big changes that you need to know about. One was the deregistration of political party rivals, and the other was the way that regional voting would be scrapped. Let me show you how these 2 feats were achieved and the impacts that they're going to have. The Electoral Equality Amendment was passed back in November 2021, and this accompanying fact sheet holds all the major details. The key details are that you need 500 members, the party registration fee is now $2,000 instead of $0, and you had 12 months to comply with these new criteria or you'd be deregistered. It says all applications will be considered under the new registration provisions. Now you might be thinking, well, 500 members and $2,000, well, it shouldn't be that hard to come up with, and you'd be right if you're a part of a major party like Liberal or Labor. But if you're a minor party like Small Business Party or Liberals for Climate or the Health Party, nobody's giving you $2,000, and getting 100 people to care about your little political party is hard enough, let alone 500 people. Even more well-known parties like One Nation, Shooters and Fishers, the Liberal Democrats, failed to get enough support to avoid deregistration. I mean, have you ever signed an FD15 saying you support a political party? Have you ever heard of an FD15? Well, what does this mean for you? Put simply, next election you'll only have 7 options instead of 19. If diversity is our strength, then West Australia just got 63% weaker. If you want some political diversity and a few more options on your ballot sheet to combat the monopoly of power that Labor has, then just Google any of these political parties and fill in their registration form. The worst thing that will happen is that the WAEC, which is the state version of the AEC, will call you and ask you if you're a member of this party. They're just making sure that nobody fraudulently filled out your details. And don't think that I just hate Labor. I hate centralised power. With 53 out of 59 seats, they can just pass whatever legislation they want. They don't even need to consult with the other 6 seats. And as if that wasn't enough, Labor wanted to ensure that its future chances of getting re-elected are as strong as could be. You see, prior to this amendment, each region would elect 6 members. There were 6 regions, 6 members, giving us the 36 members of the upper house. The benefit of a regional system is that different geographic areas have a voice in government, preventing concentration of power in one particular area. It also means that your local representatives are exactly that, local, meaning they have to live in the same or similar conditions as you, as opposed to people in a far-off city making decisions for people out in a regional community where they don't have to see the consequences of their decisions. Not to mention, it can help preserve the rights of the minority against majority rule. Under the new system, there are no regions, just one big region. Now, there are pros and cons to regional representation, which you can Google, but let me tell you how this benefits Labor specifically. It comes down to voter tendencies and population distribution. You see, people that live in rural and country areas tend to want less government, while people in big city urban areas tend to want more government and more social welfare programs. By removing the regional voting system and replacing it with one super region, the Labor Party will get more of its members elected, while regional voices, who used to be represented by Liberals and Nationals, will get no representation. Country voters only count for a fraction of the population compared to city voters, so their voices will be drowned out by the masses. But it's not all bad. Proportional representation means that if 10% of the state votes for Labor, then 10% of the upper house will be Labor. If 30% of the population votes for Liberal, then 30% will be Liberal. Pick your percentage, pick your team, that's what proportion of the upper house will be said team. To summarise, the Electoral Equality Amendment was introduced by Labor after a huge win in the state of WA. It had the effect of reducing the number of parties that you could vote for from 19 down to 7. They also scrapped regional voting in favour of proportional representation, which isn't all bad, but it's my opinion that this will advantage them, and I doubt they would have done it if they didn't think so too. If you want to make a difference in politics, then first share this video with your friends and family. Most people actually want to know this kind of stuff, but don't have the time to research it, which is why I do it for them. Then consider joining any of these minor parties. It takes about 10 seconds to fill out their form if your computer does that thing where it fills in all your details when you start typing them in. You will actually make a difference in politics if you do this. If I've provided value to you, then please consider subscribing. It really motivates me to continue bringing this content to you. And remember, you were born free.